Hey guys, it's Taku. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. This is part 2 of all of the books that I purchased and collected throughout kind of the whole summer. And this dates back to, I'll say May, mostly May and on. And the exciting thing about this book haul is a lot of them come from when I studied abroad in England. I was there for a whole month, all of June, up in the northern parts of England. And one of my favorite things to do there, of course, was book shopping. Book shopping in England looks very different from it does in the US. And I'm just really interested in books. And so, of course, I brought home a fair share of them. And I'm gonna go through them pretty quickly because it's quite a stack. And then also I'll share some of the other books that I've picked up. So if you're not interested in books, it's probably not for you. I realize this is mostly a manga, light novel, kind of anime K-pop kind of space. But some of the people expressed interest to see what other books I read. And then I also, again, love talking about the things that I've read. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. The first two books are not, they're not related to the others. You'll see there's a theme. So again, we're going to go through these pretty quickly. The first one here is just The Word Horde, Daily Life in Old English by Hannah Vadine. It's a neat book because if you flip to a random page, it gives you some vocabulary from the time period. And the table of contents perfectly arranges it in all of the different kind of avenues of our life. So playing and drinking, making friends and enemies, caring for the body and the mind, etc. It's a fun book to flip through, even if you don't sit and read the whole thing in one sitting. The next one here I've got is The Elder Edda. We read part of this for the class when we were studying abroad, but also I just love this cover. This is amazing graphic design. Look at it. I think the colors are so fun, and this is exactly how, I mean, for me, you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but let's be honest. Let's be honest with that one. I love it. I think it's so fun and poppy. So here is the beginning of the theme. All of them are Greek mythology. So Greek mythology, antiquity, all those kinds of things. So this is a new retelling of the Greek myths by Charlotte Higgins. I fell in love with the art style. I wasn't a huge fan at first, but as you read the book, it's kind of divided by different female weavers in mythology, and they provide their take or kind of their opinion on the stories of basically classical myth. So it's kind of a lot like Ovid's Metamorphoses. So it's fun, again, to flip through, even if you don't read the whole thing, just to read some of it. So the first one was Athena, this is Arachne, and the illustrations inspired me so much to pick up the UK copy of Natalie Haynes's Pandora's Jar, which is similarly, it's just about the women in Greek myths. And this is actually a nonfiction text, so it's actually about maybe archaeological evidence, maybe about translations of it. But the art styles are similar. It's not the same artist, but on a shelf they look similar together. So I kind of like it. Going on with more Natalie Haynes, because she is one of my favorite UK authors, I have the sprayed edges paperback version of Stone Blind. I love this book. This is one of my new favorite books. And the cool thing about it is it's signed. Yep, I was able to get a signed copy in the bookstore that was very local to where we were staying. And the sprayed edges are just an added, oomph. Compared to the other, I've hauled another version of this book on my channel, and I actually like the colors of the other one better, but this one's definitely growing on me. And then it's also signed. So kind of wins for that reason. Finally, going on with more Natalie Haynes. This is The Children of Jocasta, so it's kind of characters from the epic tale of Oedipus Rex. And there's a US cover of this book that I think is kind of atrocious. So I was glad I was able to actually find this one in the store. So now all of my Natalie Haynes books match. The next two, and I say two because, again, covers pop off. This is Pat Barker's take on the Trojan War. We have first The Silence of the Girls, and then you have The Women of Troy, which is the sequel. There's another book coming, I think in 2023 or 24. So hopefully soon. But yeah, it tells the fallout of the Trojan War from the perspective of Briseis, and who's an underrated character, by the way, just across the board. But then this is the most like realistic account of fake events that I've ever seen. It's stunning, the level of detail, the depth of research that had to go into this. In fact, there's a companion book that I picked up because I believe Pat Barker cites it as part of the research tool that was used when writing. So both of those are great. I was able to read those while I was abroad and had a little moments in the park. It was wonderful. So here is Daughters of Sparta. So again, we got Clytemnestra and Helen stories. I find the cover of this one also just beautiful and stand out compared to the US cover. The gilded nature of it is also wonderful. But I did read this one too, and it's, guys, this is the template. This is what I want in a book that is about mythology. It's like, I don't need a crazy spun out fantasy version of it. I like when they stick to as close to reality as possible and just kind of paint us a picture of essentially the point of view that was lost over time. Here is an interesting one. I love how all of these books have like gold on them. This is Jessie Burton's Medusa, and I had never heard of this book, so it was kind of one that I just saw when I was in the bookstore, and I read it. That's why it's kind of wavy. I read it when I was on the plane, and it's a short book. It's a pretty short book, and the ending really caught me off guard. So if you're wanting kind of a shocking but also important and maybe vital interpretation of the story, this was a good surprise. I quite enjoyed Jessie Burton's take on it. I've got two more books here. This is Jennifer Saint's Ariadne and Electra. These are the UK covers, so again, gilded. But I love these because, well, one, all of the UK books have like the same size, like all of their paperbacks are the same trim, and they're only like between 8 and 10 pounds, 8 and 12 pounds. So instead of me spending $19 on a paperback in the US, I can pick one up for $10, which is how it should be. But this one, I have the US cover of it, and it's fine. I really love the UK cover of this, though. The green and gold is exceptional. And also, if it is this one, maybe check. Yes, this one is also signed by the author. So really, really cool to have these. A piece of UK writing from the UK and signed by those authors. So continuing on with all of my Clytemnestra books. In fact, I'm listening to an audiobook right now of a Clytemnestra retelling that is very new. But this is Clytemnestra's Bind by Susan C. Wilson. I had never heard of this one. And I'm pretty in the know of mythology retellings going on right now. So it turns out it had just released in the UK while I was there. So I picked it up. I don't know anything about it, but the cover is really cool. And I've got here a used copy. This is the only used book, I think. This is Stephen Fry's Mythos, the Greek Myths Retold. It's the UK paperback, so I got it in a bookstore. The cutout there is very interesting. I don't know how to feel about this yet. I haven't read it. It's supposed to be, I think, more nonfiction, but also, or not nonfiction. I don't know how to describe it, but there's research elements in it. So I don't really know what to classify this as. Not sure when I'll get around to reading it, if I'm being completely honest. But it was only £5, so. This is that book that I was talking about that I picked up. This is, I forgot, this is used. I did not get this in the UK, I just picked it off of Amazon. But this is Goddesses, Whores, Wives, and Slaves, Women in Classical Antiquity. If you couldn't tell, it's kind of a topic of interest of mine. It's just, where did the women go? It's so many of the myths that we have, they are, essentially some of them wiped off, or their opinions are really not important. So this is a research book, and I look forward to kind of supplementing this with a lot of the fiction books that I'm reading and just kind of get a fuller picture of it. So that was the end of the UK Greek stuff. I have some more though. So we've got here the hardback little short story, little novella of Madeline Miller's Galatea. I caved and I got it. It was on sale. It feels like a waste to buy something that, one, doesn't fit on my shelves very well because it's so small, but also, you have to pay money for like 50 pages. But I read it and it was actually pretty good. It's a pretty good little short story. So if you are in the store and you see it on sale, pick it up. It's a neat little book. And then this one is the Odyssey by Homer, and it's translated by Emily Wilson, which is perhaps the most important part here. Emily Wilson is coming out with a translation of the Iliad if it's not already out, and that'll be a big deal when it's here because this one made waves when it came out. And the Odyssey is kind of a little bubble in my Greek mythology that, it's usually the one that people know everything about, and it's surprisingly the one I actually don't know a whole lot. So normally it kind of comes with the deckled edges here. I had them specialty cut off though, because I want to use this more as like a reference text, and it's hard to do that when all of the pages are different lengths. So I had it, kind of specialty cut off, and yeah, it flips through perfectly now. So really can't wait to begin my chapter of the Odyssey in my post-grad life with this translation. I read a translation of it, but it was a long time ago. And this is not Greek mythology, but this is the end of it. It's Greek related. It gets folded under it sometimes, and I see why. It's got inspiration of the Greek labyrinth in it, but this is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. And I read this one, not while I was in England. I've annotated it, you can see. And this book is a gem. I've never read anything like this. This is the most unique book I've picked up in years, maybe even ever. I can't seem to put my pen on what this is. But it is a fascinating book. And sometimes I like to recommend this to people because I was around a lot of bookish people and I kept telling them what I was reading. And I like to just slide this one under there without really saying anything. So, Piranesi, check it out. Very fascinating book. I've got a couple now that are unrelated to the next major category. These are books, again, that I just picked up over the summer. This one was given to me for free. This is We Dream of Space. It is by Erin Entrada Kelly. And it's a middle grade hardcover book. So again, don't really know a whole lot about it. It was given to me for free. This one I did read, and I picked this up and read it, and it was good. I also listened to the half of it on audiobook, and the audiobook is exceptional. This is Star Splitter by Matthew J. Kirby, and it is signed, so that's kind of neat. But one of my other subgenres, when it's not women in Greek mythology, I love reading about kind of plots with teenagers that get lost in space or trapped in a spaceship or some adjacent to that. And this one, wow, this was exciting to read. I really enjoyed this. The premise is kind of where they live in a world where people teleport, but in order to teleport, one of the rules of it is the old body's destroyed and it's recreated in the teleported spot. And so this book supposes, what if the original wasn't destroyed? And so it's of course you have a harrowing space plot with it, but neat little book, really gets you thinking. So the whole rest of these books are either by Asian authors about Asian mythology or Asian topics or Asian society, because that's the other side. When I'm not reading Greek stuff, it's Asian stuff. So this is the paperback copy of Shiren J. Chow's Iron Widow. And the reason I wanted this, it was gifted to me by my sister. She picked it up. It's got the foiling on the front, which is fun. But also, it has, yeah, you saw it. Yeah, mech charts. Look at that. So proud of this book and what it has become. This is just so cool to own. And now I can reference it. It really paints a different kind of portrait of how I read it the first time through. Not made it worse, it definitely made it better. But it's cool that the author kind of, was able to put this with the paperback release of it. So neat. And again, thankful to always receive a gift. I'm going really fast. I'm so sorry. There's just a lot. So this is Written on Water. This is Eileen Chang's, I think it's a collection of memos, letters, essays written by her, and then it's been edited and translated, I think. Either that or it's just edited. Nope, translated from the Chinese by Andrew F. Jones. So Eileen Chang, I did some analysis of her short story work in school, and then just never really heard of her ever again after that. And I was also always fascinated by who she was, and the internet doesn't have a whole lot. But then I found this by the New York Review of Books. They publish a bunch of her stuff. So I'll start with picking them up from here on out. But this one had come out while I was it happened to be a new release while I was out, so that was cool. This one is a book I got from the UK. This is also a more recent, very new translation from Norton. This is Murasaki Shikibu, the Tale of Genji. It's translated by Dennis Washburn, and it's new. It was only £6, so that's part of the reason I picked it up. There is a more elaborate Norton official academic copy of it that is like $30 or $40, and it's huge. But this was, at the UK bookstore for only $6, or 7-ish. And yeah, it's a pretty new translation. So, if ever a time to get into it, why not with this? The next stack are all by one author, and that is Kazuo Ishiguro. I got these in the UK. I adore the UK covers for these. The UK covers are just supreme. So, Clara and the Sun, which is his most recent work, and I've read this one. I love it. I never owned a paper copy of it. I only had the ebook. So, cool to have the paper. Remains of the Day I have not read, but it's about a butler, and I want to read it because it's about a butler. So, next I've got Never Let Me Go. I have read this one. Cool little dystopian, perfect for like YA, but it's also intricate in layers that entertain, I think, any age of reader. And then An Artist of the Floating World, which was more of just a blind buy, but let's be honest, I'm probably not going to be disappointed. So, there are those 4. They had a whole bunch more, but I could only fit so much in my suitcase, so we had to be a little selective here. Next couple are used books. These are, I don't know if I should cover where I got it from. I don't know. But this is The Book of Tea by Kakuzo Okakura. And this is from Shambhala Classics. And it's filed under Eastern philosophy, but it's kind of a classic text now. And it's about just the way of tea. I thought that was interesting. My copy of Monkey is also from Shambhala Classics. So I decided to pick this up partially out of faith and good trust in them, but also it was a cheap book. So this is another used book. This is Japanese women writers from the 20th century. And I read one of the short stories while I was at the store to see kind of if I wanted this. And after reading it, I do want it. So I bought it. And yeah, it was pretty affordable. I read Narcissus. I was looking for it. So they're just short stories written by women. And this one has been annotated, but that doesn't bother me. So again, cool to have more translations. And the last few books, I have to reach for them. The last few books are more in line with what I'm used to hauling on this channel, and you're probably used to seeing. So this is A Venom Dark and Sweet by Judy Lin. I have read A Magic Steeped in Poison. Finally, I did read it. Amazing book. Really creative and clever and thrilling. Many times it was thrilling. I just wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to be reserved and quiet. And it's not. It's exciting. So this is A Venom Dark and Sweet, which is the sequel to it. So looking forward to finishing kind of the duology out. I've also got Strike the Zither, and I believe the name is pronounced Joan He, but I could be wrong. This is a good book. This is an exciting book. Kind of reimagining of the Three Kingdoms-esque, but there's a lot going on in it. And the second book, Sound the Gong, I love the play on words, by the way. Sound the Gong just got its cover release, and it's gorgeous. I can't wait to own both of these and have them side by side. But I did read this one, and yeah, it's an exciting adventure story. Adventure and war and deceit and betrayal. All of it. And finally, not by an Asian author, but it's Chris Broad's book. If you follow or subscribe to Abroad in Japan, you'll know that Chris Broad has been working on a book, or maybe you don't know. This just came out, though. This is brand new. This is Abroad in Japan, 10 Years in the Land of the Rising Sun. And I love watching his videos. I love Chris. I enjoy the whole channel. I listen to all of the podcast episodes, and this had just come out, and yeah, it arrived at my doorstep. Looking forward to it. There's the man, the myth, the legend himself. So yeah, check out not only Abroad in Japan, the YouTube channel, for travel videos, for humor, for I love the cinematography of his videos. It's just next level. But then as I watched more videos, I fell in love with kind of the character behind the mic. So that about concludes it. I think that's all the books that I picked up. It's too much to fit on camera, but guys, again, this is appealing to a smaller part of my already pretty small audience, but I'm thankful for all of you who clicked on this video and decided to watch. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you have thoughts and opinions on any of these books. I'd be happy to talk to you guys about them. And yeah, till next time.